You're here because you're worried that your blog posts are getting zero traffic and rankings. You probably invested in having someone write 3 blog posts a week, because why not? You can't not blog. Maybe you have a team member that's dutifully just cranking stuff out according to a content calendar. But you want to know, how do you actually generate traffic and rankings? You want to peel back all the nonsense to see what's actually going on. I'm Dennis Yu, and today's episode of The Marketing Mechanic, we're going to break down exactly what drives a performing blog post that actually drives real traffic and rankings, and what the signals are. And by the time this episode is over, you'll understand how to audit what is going on with your site, what are the key ingredients that are missing, what steps may or may not be done that should be done, and a clear plan forward on what you need to do so that your SEO, your blog posts are actually performing according to the things that Google and ChatGPT want to see. I'm Dennis Yu, and I've written thousands of blog posts over the last 20-some years, and I've seen a clear pattern of what works and what doesn't. Some of you guys are super smart, and you're going to take these items that we're talking about here and run it through ChatGPT and have ChatGPT grade all of your articles. That's awesome. Some of you guys are agency owners, and you're worried that your sites are going to fail some of these tests here. And that's fine. You know, I've never seen anyone be perfect. We're always, just like with fitness, always trying to get better and better. But look at these principles and see how your posts perform right now and how you can improve them, because we're constantly improving. So here's what's going on. You have a blog post. And whether you've generated it, someone else has generated it, or produced it somehow, it has no trust with Google at the starting point, because there's trillions of blog posts that are out there. So what Google's looking for, as they've mentioned, but people seem to not want to acknowledge or don't even know about, is something called E-E-A-T. And the first one, they added this E, it used to be EAT, stands for experience. So if you have real experience coming off of your phone, off of your reviews, off of your company cam, off of your contractors or colleagues that have pictures and videos, maybe it's already tagged on Instagram, but there's real proof that already exists. If you can inject that into the post, that sends a clear signal. Not because you're trying to trick the search engine, but when real experiences are here, this shows the human, this is actually credible and believable and worthwhile, not just ChatGPT generating the 10 ways on how to mow your lawn for cheaper in Bloomington, Indiana by Anthony's Lawn Care, right? Real client. But real experience, real storytelling, and that's what increases what's called the signal-to-noise ratio, which Google talks about. There's many different ways of talking about whether it's real or auto-generated. That's how you stand out, by having your real experience. The things that you do as an entrepreneur, is there proof of that can turn into an article? And then that goes into the headline. If you've got real experience, then the headline can be how we achieve this result using this technique or program for these particular people, right? So it could be for Felicia Gopal on how she helps Black women take control of their finances through her certified financial planning program that's in Orange County, California. Very specific, exactly who it is, the problem that's being solved. We call that GCT, which is goals, content, and targeting. So the headline is actually more important than the article itself. You could spend all this time creating a fantastic article, but the headline is where you should spend more time on than the article. And that sounds crazy, just like don't judge a book by the cover, but actually that is the most important thing, because if people don't see the headline as they're scrolling through Google or ChatGPT as it's going through all this stuff, if it doesn't believe the headline is valuable enough, it's just going to keep going. People are going to keep scrolling unless that sends a signal to that algorithm, whether it's on YouTube or Google or wherever. There's an algorithm that's judging what content someone should show, that's doing the filtering for them and the selection. It has to be relevant to them. Just like this, I said, your blog posts are getting zero traffic. I said that at the very beginning. It's very clear what this video is about, and now you understand why this is worth investing your time to pay attention, right? If you don't know who I am, but then at least you know what the topic of this video is, and you're willing to spend the time necessary to learn it and implement it, you can see what the value of that investment is. Even though this video is for free on YouTube, it's still an investment in time. And you respect that the user, a particular user, the target, has a particular problem which you're solving. You're demonstrating how to overcome that problem, taking them on the journey step by step. And then the content is your program, is the thing that you sell. is your landscaping, your plumbing, fixing their roof, right? You're solving people's problem through your service for people who live in Bloomington, Indiana, not everyone on the planet, right? Very specific, headline shows that, reflects back to the actual stories and whatnot. And then this is the #1 miss that I see people not have in the blog post. A video is so key. When you have a video, because you can take these stories and turn them into videos, or take little things off of Instagram and Facebook or podcasts, chop them up, turn it into a video. So easy to do. There's so many tools. Even the AI agents will generate these videos using, ChatGPT and agent mode, which we talk about in several episodes here. You can go back to the channel. I want to say it's episodes 11 and 12 maybe, on how do you have ChatGPT take the stuff off of your cell phone, off of your social medias, whatever, and turn them into YouTube videos. These YouTube videos that are embedded inside this article, and then there's all these different paragraphs of things that you're talking about, links back to your YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel, that video description includes the link to the article, right? So powerful to have this reinforcement, generates another signal. It's kind of like a backlink. Just like you have other websites that are in similar categories. So let's say this was a divorce attorney in Waukesha, Wisconsin. So I always like to use real examples. In this case, Jeff Sterling, right? Sterling Lawyers. Well, if he has another divorce attorney, so funny, DA, like the domain authority, and that links to this article on how Sally was able to get her life back together after she thought her marriage fell apart or whatnot, right? So, divorce attorneys, they tell stories instead of just showing here's what the law and here's what the judge says and here's the problem with the women always win in the custody battles. Like, no, there's real stories. So if he has other people in his same category that are talking about divorce attorney 1, divorce attorney 2, that link to this, and then from this article, if he's linking to other people that are colleagues, maybe he has some friends that are, a lawn care guy, also in the same town. Maybe he has a favorite bakery. Maybe there's other divorce attorneys that he links to that are serving in another city, so they're not competitors, right? And we're not just mutually exchanging links, but these are more signals, just like a YouTube here. Maybe you take this article, and once it's live, you share it to Facebook, and that's another signal, right? There's real content being concentrated here, the signals of the social sharing, which you control, and the signals of, so the stuff you control, let's say here is blue, and the stuff that you don't control, but is from audience feedback, here is green, right? These are signals, I don't care whether it's search or social media or the AI, they're looking at these particular signals on whether the engagement is here. And what Google revealed, as you know, in the Department of Justice lawsuit with Apple, they said it's not the links and the algorithms and analyzing the text and being super intelligent. Yes, Google is super, super smart. But the #1 factor is they're looking at the signals of engagement, right? So the Chrome clickstream behavioral data, including stuff coming out of Gemini, any of these tools, the AI is analyzing how people are using the tools. If people stay and watch the video, that shows up better on YouTube, but it also passes juice to this article too. Because the dwell time on this article, let's say that you put an app in here. Let's say like your divorce calculator, or it's an HVAC company, and we have an app that calculates the price of the air conditioner, right? Which HVACquote.ai, right? Related company. This increases engagement here on the site, and then this shows Judge Google, this is a great site for people who have a particular problem, and here's the answer we have, and it's for this particular user. We called them out. The relevancy that we talked about having in the beginning also drives this signal. We want to drive the right people, not just thousands of people from Pakistan or random people. We want to drive these people because then they stay and engage better. And of course, having 100 people who are really high quality buyers is way better than trying to do 1 million people, because you're not trying to be Mr. Beast or be an influencer. You're trying to drive more sales, high quality leads for your service business, right? So super clear here, lots of proof, some kind of app to increase the dwell time and the engagement. But there's a few other things that folks aren't. These are all the basic sorts of things. And you can get this whole thing out in literally 15 to 20 minutes if you understand how to use agents where you have an agent doing each of these particular things. You chain them together, or you have our team do it, or have a young adult in our AI apprentice program do that. That's a good investment because you're probably too busy, but you want to understand what's going on here. That way you can hold them accountable. Okay, so we understand that repurposing real things into blog posts instead of having ChatGPT just generate stuff out of thin air is the best practice. But then here's where things fall apart, and I see this happen. Lots of agencies make this mistake. If you have an agency that is just cranking out blog posts for you and then 50 other clients at the same time, they're probably making the mistake. Watch this. So how does this stand out? Well, it has to have other signals, like the author. This is so key. Like a lot of these, the author is showing as the admin. Admin's not a person. Admin doesn't have a username and a background and a story, a trust associated with admin or whoever the, whatever generic user. It has to be a real person. And if that real person is you as the owner of the firm, that has to tie back to a bio and your entity. That's why there has to be a personal brand website too. There could be an about on your company website, but there also has to be a website for you, because that enhances the signal. Because here on the bio page, this is collecting all the things that you were an author of. This is built into WordPress, by the way. This is why we like WordPress so much. So if there's a bunch of articles that are under your name as an author, then there's an author page that automatically has links from this main author page back to here, right? That's pointing more trust back to here. That's why you want to do things like guest posting. If you interviewed somebody, or right on a podcast, or they interviewed you, and there's a video and whatnot, that can be repurposed to your site as well as their site. That same article or video can be repurposed, meaning an article from their point of view, an article from your point of view. You contribute that as a guest article. Now all of a sudden, you've got a link. You have another link from them to you because you submitted a guest blog post. No effort on their part. They just let you post the thing. Their admin or VA, whatever, allowed you to post that. So ChatGPT and other AIs care more about who is saying it than the trust of the overall brand and website. This is something that a lot of people have been freaking out about because it creates this democratization effect where someone who's a nobody can win. And you see that with TikTok and other social networks where a nothing account can all of a sudden blow up because the content itself is amazing and it's tied to an author that people follow. The younger the audience, if you have people that are under 30, they care about the trust of who's saying it, and that's how they make decisions, not the brand, right? Those of us that are 50 plus, we remember the brand and that kind of thing. We don't really buy personally based on the trust of this influencer or whatnot, but this author component is so key. And then when you build out the author component properly and the bio, I think it's episode 5 of the Marketing Mechanic on the perfect personal brand website. That personal brand website enhances the authority of what you as an author, or maybe you're doing this on behalf of somebody, maybe you're an agency, maybe you work for the business owner, you're building up the brand authority here. Not because of PR, not because of vanity, let's get 100,000 followers, but because we're establishing this person is an expert on this particular topic that we're talking about, and therefore there are multiple articles that all kind of tie with that topic. If you have one article on this particular topic, are there related articles? So relating to this website, let's say that this is topic A. And that topic could be, let's say, personal injury attorney. What do you do when you get in a car accident in Atlanta? Ibrahim Awad, let's say, right? Then this car accident topic is going to have multiple things like, do you call the police? And how much money will I get for my settlement? And what my insurance company's not cooperating? And what if it was my fault? And what if I got in a dog bite? And what if an Uber gets in an accident and that's commercial? How does that? So there's all these different kind of topics. Within your main topic, there's these subtopics. And so these articles should all, using Blue, which is stuff that you do, they should all link to each other. And when they all link to each other, not just everything links to everything randomly, but in an intelligent way, then you've built this topical cluster. So you've associated this with, this is kind of like external linking, because you have the internal linking thing of saying, if this person said a lot about, you know, getting hit by an 18-wheeler and here's why commercial insurance pays out more because the policy limits are higher. Well, if you have a ton of articles around that, then when you publish a new article that's related, saying, well, how are the laws different in Georgia on truck driving versus whatever it is, that trust carries over here. And if there's engagement here, this also passes juice relevancy trust back to this particular topic, which then passes it back to the whole site. And the overall site is increasing this juice, right? So a lot of people that are experts in SEO will say that it doesn't matter what the domain's power is because every page has to stand on its own because of, you know, they'll say page rank, even though that was based on Larry Page and not the web page. But there is something to be said about the trust of the overall site and the brand, not just from users trusting a brand because they've seen the TV ads, they've seen the trucks going around. No, but there is reputational trust at the site level. That does flow down, not just because you're passing links from the top level, the home page, all the way down, but Google does care about who is saying it, right? And people love to argue this stuff all the time. These SEO experts love to argue. Just, I think, even if you don't pretend to be an SEO expert, you would agree, like having power on the home page or the site overall does pass down, depending on how many links away it is, down to that particular blog post. I mean, the data clearly shows that's the case. Okay, the author's important, showing real experience, linking it back together between different topics. Now we want to make sure that the content itself, let's say the text, doesn't look like ChatGPT. Because you can take what's in a video and you could put in the transcript. Most of us don't speak clearly and eloquently enough that our pure transcript can be just transposed directly into text. So ChatGPT, with a smart person watching it, an editor, can say, yeah, that's the way I'd like to say it. Or no, we need to, you know, these sort of editorial adjustments along the way. So this kind of thing, I think, is very important, where you and or other people on your team have enough understanding of your firm that you can make sure that your voice, not just stylistically your voice, not just the words you like to use, but your approach and differentiators about your service and the trust that you have from the experiences that you have. So if you have lots of case studies, lots of happy customers, right? Then those are great things that you want to be able to sprinkle in as proof. So if you reference here, let's say the personal injury attorney is referencing, here's, you know, maybe this article is on what to do right away when you get in a car accident. That's what personal injury attorneys love to make articles on, right? Because they know that's how they generate cases. And then you show an example of this person and what they did and what they said to the officer, and should you call the ambulance or not? And what happens when insurance companies deny you? What are the tactics they use? Well, and if we show real examples of this, this is the E-E-A-T. And so as you gather more experiences, as there's more and more EAT, you can continue to enhance this article. See, a lot of people think, we have this content calendar, so every month, you know, now it's Thanksgiving time, now it's, you know, Christmas, and now it's New Year, you know, we're on the treadmill, we have to keep producing. No, if you find things that have worked on a particular topic, not the news, which keeps expiring every day, but topics which are evergreen, stories which are evergreen, you can continue to enhance this. So maybe the headline is 9 examples of how to do whatever, and now you have more examples, you can change that thing to 12 ways. Or in 2025, here's what you need to do for life insurance by Caleb Williams of Better Wealth. I always use real examples, friends of mine, clients of mine, almost all clients of mine. Now I can update that and I could say the 10 things to know in 2026. I can take that 2025 article and repurpose it forward. If you look at any existing content that you have, which is what we call the best ones, we call your greatest hits, if your site is already performing, you should be spending 90% of your time enhancing greatest hits instead of creating new articles. Isn't that crazy? Most of you guys are probably spending 90% of your time or more creating new stuff, and you never go back and look at existing articles. Look in your search console, look in your Ahrefs data, look in your CRM, look at wherever the traffic's coming from. Hopefully you have a marketing report that has leads traced back to the source of the marketing. I think that's in episode 6 on how do you optimize and evaluate your SEO data and figure out what articles are working or not, right? So if it's already producing for you, not just ranking on brand terms, but if your site, generally is ranking, not just in the maps, but it's actually showing up in Google, then spend 90% of your time taking things that are already winning and just continuing to add and enhance and make it better and better. Google also sees that as a signal, because Google is looking at, is this blog post from 7 years ago, was it abandoned? Have they ever come back to it? Like, imagine you drive down the street and you see this house that's all boarded up and clearly no one's there. The windows are broken, no one's watching. That's a signal. So, right, all of these things are signals. So the fact that you're enhancing it, you're making it better, users are reacting slightly differently. So when this article gets updated, that tells Google's crawlers, we should visit this site more often. If you click on any search result, you can right-click or click on the dots, and it'll say cached, and it'll say the date that it was cached, meaning the last time that Google visited that web page. And it probably wasn't today, and it probably wasn't in the last week. When you keep improving your greatest hits, and you see what the difference is between today and that cache date, that's a pretty good canary in the coal mine diagnostic signal that these articles are performing better and better. If you look at your site and you look at the top pages on your site and you see Google's not been back in 3 months, or Google's not even been there, or you can look in your search console and it'll tell you, Google Search Console is great, it used to be called Google Webmaster Tools, different name, same product, then that's a good signal. If it's coming back, CNN, they get crawled every 5 minutes, right? Because people know, like the users know, Google knows, this stuff is constantly being updated. Maybe the news changes, maybe you found a better way to do this, maybe you have better case studies, but you want to think of your site as a living, breathing thing, not something where you're just making new content and the previous stuff that was last month, we never want to touch that anymore. So it's like your mindset and your strategy to blogging is what's driving this. One of the biggest issues I see is just, well, I'm too busy as a business owner, I don't understand SEO and all this technical stuff, so we're just going to hire someone from some other place, not in our city, that knows nothing about our industry, and they're going to generate mindlessly 3 blog posts every week. Because why not? I mean, how can you not? I mean, you have to blog, like you have to be on social media, how can you not? So I know it's not really working. They're posting Happy Valentine's Day, but I know that's not really doing anything yet. How can I not do that? I don't know another way to do that because I'm too busy and all this. Well, do you want me to cut your left arm off or your right arm? Well, how about neither, right? So that's the Pyrrhic choice, the fake choice that people think they have here when it comes to blogs, because they think that someone else can come in here and just out of thin air generate they don't do that. That's just creating garbage. That's just astroturfing your site with nonsense. This body of experience that comes out of your CRM, off your phone, the relationships, stuff that you wouldn't even think would belong on your company's site. Like, well, I went to a mastermind and I hung out with these other guys. Why should that be on my website? That's not related to people getting in car accidents. Yes, it is, because people trust who is saying it, because you guys go to the same church, because of the story on you're celebrating your son's 18th birthday and how he's able to get into the college of his dreams and you're so proud. Like, that's reflecting your values, that's reflecting who you are. I don't want to go into personal branding and your why and why people buy and know, like, and trust and all that, but you understand that's how people make decisions, because that's how you make decisions. You make decisions based on the trust of because you want to see a doctor, you don't know enough about medical procedures and surgeries and whatnot. I mean, you can evaluate the reviews and their patient grades and all that kind of stuff, but you do it because you trust that person. You have common friends who also said, yeah, I went to that doctor, Dr. Clinton Munch in Northfield, Minnesota, and I had my hip replacement. And he did it for me, and I was able to walk the next week, and everything's great. Look, I can hit tennis again, and I'll go see Dr. Clint Munch too in Northfield, Minnesota, right? That's how you make decisions. That's how we make decisions based on reviews and what friends have to say. So these things from your experience, not that you're trying to be famous, or I'm not trying to be Gary Vaynerchuk and broadcast my whole life and rent a Lamborghini. No. I'm just saying these stories, these podcasts, other things can be injected sounds kind of bad, woven into this article to make it real. So it's not something that an AI could have written. Google's looking at what is stuff that AI can't generate. What are the signals, right? And this is the main point I want you to think about. We want to increase the signal of things that can't be done by a tool or some kind of outsider. Because if it can, then it's just a trick that all of us can spot, including Google, including ChatGPT, and therefore the value of it goes down. So fake directory listings, auto-generated text, those are fake, stuff by admin, stuff where it doesn't contain real stories, stuff where it doesn't have links, stuff that's not being shared, stuff that's not actually getting engagement, right? So what are the real signals that could only come from someone who is a legitimate practitioner of the thing that you do? If you think about it that way, then all this stuff, the matrix gets opened up and you see the woman in the red dress, right? Maybe that's me as an engineer having done this for so many years. That's the way I see things, right? But now you as a business owner, you see it's not some technical, this is the algorithm. You better hop on the latest AI thing or you're going to miss out. No, it's your reputation. It's your reputation and your experience that's being lightly repurposed, translated to the web. And if that signal is broken and it doesn't exist, then you have a problem. And the problem is not a technical one. The problem is you. You've chosen the wrong vendor. You don't realize that this is just a mirror reflection of these other components. Now, what else can you do? If you know that this is good content, it's generating some engagement, Google's showing that it's coming back, you've woven in real experiences with E-E-A-T, not just auto-generated stuff, well then, you run ads. And you boost it for $1 a day. So you can boost the YouTube video. You can boost Facebook. And so when you can run ads against your name. You can run your regular Google ads. Maybe this is Dr. Clint Munch doing more knee replacement surgeries and he's got more stories and all this. So he runs an ad for knee replacement, targeting people who live just in Northfield, Minnesota, right? Or you just put it on YouTube and you boost it for $1 a day, which is also part of Google Ads, and you can target Northfield, Minnesota, or not, because people who watch this video, if it says like knee replacements in, what you need to know about knee replacements in Northfield, Minnesota, I don't know how that's different than knee replacements in Los Angeles, right? But maybe there's some differences with insurance or differences in the way that, who knows, right? I know Dr. Clint Munch has certain procedures that he explained it to me one time, I don't understand, but somehow it's less invasive, it's faster recovery, there's less pain. That's the number one question people have, how much pain is there, right? And he has a way of addressing all that. Well, if those are the people that are watching this video about how much pain is there when I have a knee replacement surgery, or when is it time to have a knee replacement, or can I keep going, or can I do stem cells? He's answering these questions. People that stay and watch that video to the end sends a signal back to YouTube, which is part of Google, that these are people in Northfield and they're 50 plus and they're watching 70% of this 5-minute video. Well, that's a signal. Find other people that are like that. So you don't even have to target senior citizens, Northfield, Minnesota, knee replacement surgery. You can buy those keywords on Google. But if you also put this on Facebook or YouTube, which is kind of a search and social weird duck that walks and quacks and flies but doesn't do all of them, does all of them but not very well, then the signal from the content itself is what drives the rankings. This is what's driven a lot of SEO experts out of business in the last few years. It's not because AI's come to crush them. It's not because they hate SEO people. That's what they would tell me when I worked at the search engines. All these SEO people would say, oh, you just hate us because you don't like the fact that we can trick you. And no, we see right through all that kind of stuff. What we want is for you guys, if you do SEO, we want you to bring this experience forward in a clear way so that it's easy for us to be able to process and tie this back to different entities. And then when you drive traffic here, that driving traffic from ads to the website, so now we can see that in the analytics, we can see that because we can see the engagement, right? Then that gives us, that tells us whether people like the content or not. But if your blog gets 0 traffic, and you're not doing lightweight boosting, there's no engagement signal on how to determine whether people like that content or not. So then we just have to look at the text itself, look at the video, we have to look at these other signals, links, to try to guess, which certainly makes sense, right? But there's nothing better than real user, not bot stuff, not manic band of search atlas and the lane hook of signal genesis saying, oh, we can fool the search engines by just generating press releases and, and linking in a way they can't catch us, or the CTR thing, which is black hat, meaning don't do it. Yes, it works, but you always get caught, right? Oh, no, we never get caught. I don't want to argue with you. Yes, you get caught. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. You get caught, okay? Every time. I always see these people. They always claim they're never going to get caught, and they always get caught. But like CTR, where they say, oh, you don't have to spend money on ads. We'll just set up a whole bunch of bots that look just like users. They're so good because of the way we hide the IP address and whatnot that we send them to click on the stuff. They come to your website and Google rewards it. And yes, it's true. Google still is rewarding people that do the fake CTR stuff because, oh yeah, our stuff looks just like bots. Just don't do that, right? If you do that, don't watch anything on this channel because that's not, we don't teach any of that. We are aware of it. Yes, it works. Will it last? No. Are you a shortcut person? Go for the weight loss pill that lose 30 pounds in 30 days and no side effects. Yeah, right. Every year we see these same people trying to lose weight again with the latest thing. That's what those SEO people are. Same with the AI people, which are just the SEO people now onto the latest thing they're peddling. Whatever the next thing is, they've jumped to that thing. I've been teaching this stuff for years, but you can go look on YouTube or ChatGPT. Like I've done hundreds of these. It hasn't changed either. Just the techniques, the framework's still the same. Okay, so real signals that are coming back here. Also, if you structure it the right way, if you're telling a story, then there's going to be entities that are embedded. So the first entity is the author, that's you. Another entity is the city. And if you look inside your SEO tool, it'll say, Anthony Hilb, and that's an entity as a person. The other entity is his business. Another entity is Bloomington. Maybe it's a podcast that's repurposed. There's another entity. Anthony and me in a podcast. So if you have Schema set up properly, Rank Math, which is a WordPress plugin, does it kind of automatically for you. You can use ChatGPT to manually set up your entities and Schema, right? And look across the entities. And as these entities are mentioned, Mrs. Smith is an entity. These other businesses are entities. The other products and services, like all these, there's tons of entities. Every one of these blog posts should have real experience, ideally multimedia, because you want to rank with photos and images and news and maps and knowledge panels and not just text and all that, right? A variety of types of stuff that shows up, because they're all different auctions, right? There's a video auction and a news auction, right? When you see results. Sometimes it's consolidated in one, which is called AI Answers. But you want have it shown a variety of ways. Some people like to listen, some people like to watch, some people like to read. You have it in this same content repurposed in multiple formats. Each of these formats still respects the entities. These entities are connected together because you're using Schema. Now you have winning blog posts. Now you've won on search and social and AI at the same time. Now you understand what the linkage is between your real experience, your CRMs, the reviews that you get on Google and Yelp and whatnot, and whether this blog can start to get traffic. And why not? We have another video, I think it's episode 7 or 8, on the perfect local service business website, which shows how this can be done over and over again. And while this is a blog post, you also have to structure the homepage in a certain way. You have to structure location service pages in a certain way. There's other parts of your site beyond just blogs. Like blogs were created as a way to sequentially put articles out there without any sort of understanding of categories and tags and structure. So location service pages, so if you are a Denver real estate agent, like Justin Martin, and also doing Denver mortgages, then you're going to have locations, Denver and Cherry Hill and Boulder and all these different places. You're going to have services, right? Refinancing and mortgage, first-time home buyer, veteran, like all of these different things. And so those things that are core to you with location service pages sit above all these blog posts. This is the difference between pages and posts inside WordPress, in case you were wondering or you didn't know. That's why. Pages are senior to posts. But these posts, these blog posts, can link back to the location service page. So if this is Ibrahim Awad talking about car accidents in Marietta, Georgia, in a particular story, then this can link back to that particular topic on car accidents in Marietta, Georgia. And this is just one of many examples, right? This thing continues to build out steam. You see what the rankings are for the entire site. That tells you what your next blog post should be. And that way you're not just mindlessly creating X number of blog posts per week. Or if it's you creating the blog post or you creating the video, and somebody told you with good intent, oh, you gotta make a video every day, whether you like to or not. No. Maybe that applies to going to the gym where I don't feel like going to the gym today. Yeah, okay, fine, go to the gym, put in your 20 minutes or whatever it is. But when it comes to creating content, whether it's on video or a blog post or whatever, if you're not in the mood, this will piss off some people. If you don't feel like it, if you're not inspired and you're doing it just because you feel like you've got to check that box, because I'm going to hustle through it, yeah, even when I don't feel like it, you know, no, don't do it, because that's going to generate mediocre content, especially if you're making video, because the video camera can tell if you're tired or not. That's why I didn't make this video last night. I was tired. I already was ready to do all this kind of stuff, because the more content that's out there, the higher the bar becomes to stand out. And so the internet's flooded with literally 1 trillion good blog posts. You want the stuff to be great, not just because, oh, you accept excellence only and you're an A player, but because that's the only way to compete. What are these other signals that can take something from like a decent blog post, which average gets nothing, right? That's what's going on. To be a winner, it's almost a winner take all now because of the way that the algorithms work nowadays. So I hope you found this valuable. Let me know what you are doing about making sure that your blog posts are getting more traffic and more rankings. I would love to hear what is working for you. How can we improve this model? Are there other topics that you care about? And if you made it this far, I would be really honored if you liked, shared, and subscribed. I put this content out there for free. I want to see you guys grow, whether or not you can afford our services. I run Local Service Spotlight, where we're spotlighting local service businesses and highlighting their actual success. We have all of these AI-driven sorts of bots that help you fix your website, help you fix your social media. And we have our AI Apprentice program through High Rise Influence, where these young adults, maybe your son or daughter, can use our tools and be your agency or start an agency. And then they can do this for 10 other personal injury attorneys, 10 other HVAC companies. That's why we're doing all this. We also know that everything we're doing here can be interpreted by the AIs as they're getting smarter and build bots against this, build these intelligent agents that can process these different rules on how a website needs to be continued to optimized, continue to enhanced with articles, continued to set up these different processes to do that. But we find demonstrating by example, which is what I've done, and then by teaching, when we find something that's a repeatable pattern, teaching the recipe, that's the best way to do that. So hope you found it valuable. Hope it wasn't too technical. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll see you in the next episode.